Imagine waking up on Mother's Day, climbing into your bike helmet, pedaling into the dawn, and vanishing without a trace. That's what happened to Suzanne Morphew on May 10th, 2020. Today we take you inside a case tangled in love, betrayal, tranquilizers meant for wild animals, and a husband accused of murder. Suzanne was 49, a mother of two living with her husband, Barry Morphew, near Salida, Colorado. On that fateful Mother's Day, she reportedly set off on a bike ride and never returned. Her bike was later found off a cliff, her helmet roughly a mile away. But there was no visible sign of a crash. No blood, no braking skid. Investigators began to suspect the scene had been staged. Her husband says she left alone.
What? Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So.
It's gonna get phone. It's scary.
Sorry, check yes, dude. We got the unseen here with me.
My mouth looking for right now. It's gonna be okay. I'm here with my daughter. She's at the Barry house.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, you can go down there.
There's a crash.
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laid, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like lion.
No lion? Mountain lion?
I didn't see anything that was...
I didn't see anything, and they're not letting us go to the side.
Because we're getting attracted.
Dogs. They're bringing dogs.
Just right down in here, everything, so... Yeah.
Did anybody look for foot tracks on the road?
I haven't seen anything really, but...
Like people tracks or lion?
I didn't really notice, but I won't lie, I'm not like an expert tracker or something, you know?
But the story cracked almost immediately. Suzanne had confided to friends she was unhappy. Texts found on Barry's phone included one from Suzanne. "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." Barry and Suzanne had known each other since high school in Indiana. Married in 1994, later relocating to Colorado. Friends described the marriage as outwardly successful, but behind closed doors, Suzanne had reportedly been having an affair, and the marriage was in trouble. Barry had access to a tranquilizer rifle and darts, equipment used to sedate deer and other wildlife. At the Morphew home, investigators found a gun safe containing a dart rifle and dart equipment. When they reviewed phone data and vehicle data, various inconsistencies emerged. On the day Suzanne vanished, Barry claimed to be traveling to a job site, but data suggested otherwise. In May 2021, Barry was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, tampering with a human body and other offenses. However, in April 2022, the charges were dismissed without prejudice, meaning prosecutors could bring them again later.
I admit that the evidence has changed to the slightest degree. Of course, thankfully, with the discovery of Miss Morphew's body, but importantly, the substantive evidence and the problem that the government has had in finding the proper person responsible for this offense, Your Honor. The evidence itself has not changed, although the theory of the government has, and that has been ever evolving. Your Honor, the evidence of Mr. Morphew's innocence is substantial, and I think through the coming months, the court will see that when the time is ultimately proper. But in deciding whether or not to reduce Mr. Morphew's bond from $3 million to what the defense is asking for, which is $500,000, the court should take into consideration and can take into consideration Mr. Morphew's past conduct. We know, Your Honor, that Mr. Morphew was released on a $500,000 bond. And throughout the litigation of Mr. Morphew's case, Miss Morphew's unfortunate death, Mr. Morphew did exactly what bond is supposed to do, which is that Mr. Morphew appeared for every single court appearance. He followed every single requirement of the court, and at no time had any problems complying with the orders of the court. And there's nothing about the evidence, and there's nothing about the charge that has ultimately changed that.
Investigators cited the lack of a body as a key challenge. For years, the case grew cold. The public, the family, the investigators all waited. Then in September 2023, nearly 3.5 years later, Suzanne's skeletal remains were found in a shallow grave near Moffett, Colorado, less than an hour south of the Morphew home. Autopsy results released in April 2024 declared her death a homicide by undetermined means, but animal tranquilizer chemicals, a cocktail of butorphanol, azaparone, and metamidine, collectively known as BAM, were found in her bone marrow. These drugs are used to immobilize large wildlife. Prosecutors say Barry was the only private citizen in that region who had a prescription and access to that drug. On June 20th, 2025, a Colorado grand jury indicted Barry Morphew on first-degree murder in Suzanne's death. Investigators allege Suzanne's body had been moved at least twice, that the grave where she was found wasn't where she died, and that her remains were unusually bleached, suggesting prolonged exposure. Barry maintains his innocence. His defense claims the investigation is misguided and the evidence circumstantial. But the presence of the tranquilizer chemicals, the marital tensions, the deleted messages, the odd activity of Barry's vehicle all paint a troubling picture. This isn't just a missing person case. It's the story of a woman who vanished on a normal morning and whose death unlocked an investigation into power, secrets, and silence. It asks, how far can someone go when no one is watching? And when they are watching, can they still cover their tracks? For Suzanne's family, 2 daughters and a mother, the wounds remain raw. They asked not just for justice, they asked for truth. For the community of Salida and beyond, the case became a cautionary tale. The danger isn't always in the shadows. It can sit in a nearby room. It can hide in a quiet marriage. A trial looms likely to hinge on forensic toxicology, witness testimony about the marriage, and the timeline of how and where Suzanne died. The prosecution will lean on the BAM evidence, the tranquilizer rifle, cell phone/vehicle data, and the movement of the body. The defense will attack gaps in the investigation, procedural missteps, notably the prior dismissal, and argue for reasonable doubt. At the core lies a simple question. Why did Suzanne Morphew go missing that Mother's Day, and what happened afterward? The answer may rest in the subtleties, a message on a phone, a dart rifle in a gun safe, a quiet confession of being done. For viewers of justice, the case will test how modern forensic science, combined with old-fashioned detective work, can bring closure to the disappeared and accountability to the powerful.